I remember the exact moment like it was yesterday. It was a cold evening in the middle of winter, the kind of cold that seeps into your bones and refuses to let go. I was sitting on the couch, staring out the window, watching the snow fall, and for a second I let myself feel numb. Not physically cold, but emotionally frozen. My heart had been broken so many times over the past few months that it felt like I couldn't feel anything anymore. She wasn't there, and I realized, with a heavy thud in my chest, that she never would be again. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks, and at that moment, I understood something I had refused to admit to myself. She wasn't coming back. Have you ever felt that? The moment when you realize that someone you loved, someone who was once a constant in your life, is truly gone. I think it's one of the hardest feelings a person can experience. But it's also one of the most transformative. When it all changed, we were inseparable. I mean, you know how it goes in those first few months of any new relationship. Everything feels so intense, so real. I remember how we talked for hours at a time, sometimes about nothing, sometimes about everything. We'd finish each other's sentences, we'd plan our futures, talk about our favorite songs, and promise each other that we'd always be there. It wasn't just the laughs, though, that kept us together. It was the way we understood each other. She got me in a way that no one else ever had. There's something special about that kind of connection, right? It's almost like you found your other half. But then, something started to shift. And it wasn't one big moment. It was a bunch of small ones that I refused to notice. The late-night texts became less frequent. The calls became shorter. And the plans we made started to fall apart. At first, I thought it was just a phase. Maybe she was busy. Maybe something was going on in her life. But deep down, I knew something was off. I just didn't want to admit it to myself. I didn't want to face the truth that maybe we were growing apart. And then came that night. The night everything changed. I'll never forget it. She called me, but this time, the conversation was different. There were long pauses, silence that stretched on for way too long. And when she said, "I think it's time we take a break," I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to hear it. But the truth was right there, staring me in the face. And even though I tried to deny it, I knew she was slipping away. What you didn't realize, if you've ever been in a relationship like that, you know the feeling I'm talking about. It's like living in two different worlds, one where everything is fine, and the other where it's slowly falling apart. You try to hold on to the good moments, the memories, the connection, but eventually, you realize that those aren't enough to hold things together. I didn't realize it at the time, but she wasn't just distancing herself from me. She was distancing herself from the idea of us. It wasn't something she could explain easily. Heck, I don't even think she fully understood it herself. But I began to see it. Her priorities were changing. Her life was moving forward. And she was no longer sure that I was part of her future. And that's the hardest part, isn't it? Knowing that someone you love so deeply is making decisions without you. You start to question yourself. What did I do wrong? Why wasn't I enough? But the thing is, you weren't the problem. Relationships change. People change, and sometimes they grow apart. It's not always anyone's fault. The moment of truth. That night, after we hung up, I sat there for hours. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't think straight. The silence in my room was suffocating. I remember pulling up old pictures of us, reading old texts, and trying to understand how everything fell apart. And that's when it hit me. She wasn't coming back. It wasn't just a phase. It wasn't just a misunderstanding. It was real. She was gone. I cried that night, not because of what she said, but because I finally let myself feel the pain of it all. I realized that I had been holding on to something that wasn't there anymore. And as I wiped my tears away, I knew something deep inside me had changed. I was no longer holding on to the past. I wasn't going to wait for her to come back. I was going to move on. It was time to face the truth and let go. The pain of letting go. Letting go is hard, right? It's not just about moving on. It's about accepting that things aren't going to be the way they once were. It's accepting that the person you thought you'd be with forever is no longer in your life, and they might never come back. But here's something I learned in the process. Letting go doesn't mean you forget. It doesn't mean you erase the memories or the feelings. It just means you stop holding on to the hope that things will return to what they once were. It means you start to heal, piece by piece, and create space for new experiences and new relationships. And I'll be honest with you, it wasn't easy. There were days when I still found myself wondering if she'd come back. I checked my phone every few minutes, hoping for a text, a call, anything. But slowly, over time, the pain started to fade. The hole she left in my heart didn't feel so empty anymore. Finding yourself again. In the months that followed, I started to focus on myself. I started to do the things I loved before she came into my life. I spent time with friends, picked up old hobbies, and rediscovered parts of me that I had forgotten about. And while it didn't happen overnight, one day I realized something. I was okay. I was stronger than I thought. I had learned from the relationship, and more importantly, I had learned how to move forward without her. It's funny, because when we're in relationships, we often tie our identity to the other person. We become so wrapped up in who we are together that we forget who we are apart. But through this experience, I learned how important it is to stand on your own 2 feet. You don't need someone else to define you. You get to define yourself. What I want you to take away, if you're watching this right now, and you're going through something similar, I just want to remind you, it's okay to grieve. It's okay to feel the pain. It's okay to wonder if they'll come back. But know this, you are enough. The hardest part is facing the truth. But once you do, you'll see that you have the strength to keep going. And eventually, you'll reach a point where you realize that you're better off moving forward, even if it's hard to let go. So if you're struggling with this right now, take a deep breath. You're not alone. And if you found this video helpful, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need it. Trust me, you won't want to miss out on more content like this. The road ahead. There's always a road ahead, even when it feels like your world is falling apart. And I promise you, one day, you'll look back at this moment, and it will feel like just another chapter in your story. You'll be stronger, you'll be wiser, and most importantly, you'll be okay. Thanks for watching, and take care of yourself.